Hi, this here is Andrew Vandrew Colden TV. This is Andrew, your host. Do you ever wonder how you want to get free TV but don't want to have to pay for it? Well, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how, and you can say goodbye to cable. So, you want to know how? I'm going to show you how. All you need to do is just set up an antenna. This is how I'm going to show you. Now basically in this tutorial you're basically going to need a flat screen TV at least later than the year 2003. For that reason, because one, these TVs have built-in TV tuners, so you don't have to buy a digital to analog TV converter. We're simply just going to use one of these RF amplifiers. They're basically can be used for your antenna that we're going to use outside. This here is going to be my antenna, indoor/outdoor TV antenna. This one's from Radio Shack. Now, you're going to need your remote to configure the TV tuning. You're going to need your power supply for your amplifier. Now, these are optional. You can use these splitters to split the connection if you want to have TV in other rooms. And you may need one of these because your outlet may not fit one of these. Now, you're also going to need a whole bunch of these RF cables. And you may need one of these conjoiners for RF if you want to make the connection longer. Now, you may need a screw if you want to screw your antenna outside. We're basically going to be needing a Phillips screwdriver for this tutorial. Now to start the tutorial, we're first going to start by setting up the outdoor antenna outside. The best place to set up your antenna is simply in the basement. Is you find one of these RF cables hooked into the wall. Now the best place to set it up is usually one closest to outside. Mine is by a window, so I can simply just pull on this and figure out which wire outside I can use for my antenna. Now simply for the next step of the tutorial, we're going to start by using a Phillips screwdriver and a screw and basically one of these RF conjoiners. We're basically going to start by using this cable right here that happens to go inside my room. We're going to start by using the RF antenna and all the RF cables we're going to be using. First, locate on the side of the house. Simply a screw that may already be used by another one is the best place to set it up. Mine happens to be set up right there, underneath the window. Let's start. Alright, for the next step of this tutorial, we're going to start by grabbing our TV antenna and the RF cable. The best way to do it is to start before placing it on the mount, which I've already done. We're going to start by screwing in the RF cable into the TV antenna. Now we're simply going to place this on top of the mount that we have just placed. Alright, also for this tutorial, you're going to be needing one of these conjoiners that I also mentioned in the tutorial for the material listings that you need. We'll start by hooking this up into the RF cable we use to connect our antenna to. And we're simply just going to screw that in because righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Now, we're going to use this RF cable that was already in the wall that actually goes inside my room. We're going to hook this up into here so that the antenna is basically set up as of right now. Now we can simply just move this RF cable out of the way and make it look a little prettier, I guess. But I guess that's about it for setting up the antenna. Now basically this is what the antenna should look like after it is completed and set up. It should have a cable running down and into the wall. Now, usually cable companies, they would have like a thing called splitters. Now, I took mine off of ours because one, we only have internet, so usually when you have splitters, you're splitting the connection so the signal is not as strong going out all three. So you can also use one of those RF conjoiners that I also mentioned earlier. I used it connected directly from the cable that goes directly to the ground into the modem that pretty much goes all the way up around to where our cable modem's at. Now there's really no need to have multiple wires for something you're not going to use. So I basically unhooked them all and just basically hooked up the one we only use, which is just this one. That's kind of why we have loose cables everywhere, because one, they're not being used. Alright, for the remaining part of the tutorial on setting up the antenna, we're going to start by using this amplifier. Now this amplifier I pretty much got off of Amazon for $10 online, which isn't bad at all. Now the shipping is pretty good. It ships within the United States of America. So if you're in US, you should probably do that. Because I don't really trust ordering stuff out of country, because you never know, it may never come at all. Now we're going to start by using maybe 3 of these RF cables. Now, in order to figure out how to set this thing up, we already know that, for example, for guitars, you go out to amp, in for guitar. So basically we're going to start by reading the stuff right here. We kind of get the idea that the power adapter should go right here. The TV should go in here, out to TV, and your RF in should be basically where your antenna is going to go. Let's start. Alright, we're simply going to start by grabbing your RF amplifier. We're going to start by hooking this up into the RF in. And for the next part, we're basically going to be grabbing our power supply and hooking up NSO. We're going to start by grabbing one of these RF cables that came with the package. Now we can simply just plug it in again where it says power. Now depending whether or not how you want to have this plugged into the wall, you may need one of these. Now we can simply just grab our power supply and just run it in through the bottom of our AC adapter. And we can basically plug in this little adapter. Make it easy for when you want to plug it in. And when you plug it in, it should light up. As so, it's lit up right now. It should light up green. Now, I know some people, they might hook it up out here and it would still light up green. But this is the correct way to set it up. Now, you may want to have one of these splitters. This is optional. Now, you can basically hook this up directly into the TV and configure the TV as so. Now simply on the back of your TV, you should notice that there should be like a little cable thing. Now we're simply going to hook up one of these RF cables. We're simply going to be using maybe a short one for this one, in my case. Now all we have to do is just simply hook it up. Again, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Now, in this case, in my case, remember using one of these splitters. Now, I like mine hooked up on the bottom of right here. And if you have like an extra input like I have right here, since I have a splitter, if you want, you can basically have a multimedia PC. You can basically share the same antenna to either record your TV shows simply by just using a analog capture. Now, in this case, if you're using one of those analog PCI cards, you're going to need a digital to analog converter in this case. If you're going to be using Windows Media PC software, that usually comes with the software. But we're basically going to be hooking up, basically this in should go into, basically to where my power supply is at, for the RF amplifier. Now this should make things easier. So all you have to do is just move the TV and just hook it up. Now basically the last and final step for this tutorial, you're basically going to be grabbing the splitter and what you use to hook up your TV with. So my TV is already in its spot. We can simply just snake this cable in the back. And we can simply grab this end and plug it into the power, out to power. And we can simply just screw it in. And basically you can turn on your TV right now as long as you have all this stuff in this tutorial all correct. Now we can simply move this in the back since we don't need this anymore. Now simply just turn on your TV. And basically for this last and final step of this whole tutorial, you're going to be needing your TV remote. Simply just start by clicking on the input of the TV and simply just go to TV cable. Now if you haven't set yours up already, you shouldn't be having this screen. We're simply going to start by clicking the menu button on your TV remote. We're simply going to your options and basically going into the settings. You're going to change your input source from cable to basically antenna. Now you should change your tuner settings as well, from cable to antenna. Since you no longer have cable, you're going to be using antenna. Now you can simply click that auto channel search and it shall do the rest for you. Now you simply just have to wait as it scans the channels. You may not get a lot of channels if you're using a splitter, but in this case let's just find out. And basically this is an example of what channels I get and how good quality they are. You can simply just change the remote channel on your TV remote. The channels actually come in pretty good. Congratulations, you have successfully got pretty much free TV. This is Andrew of Andrew Colden TV, out.